Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1.
Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
All right, welcome into a Victory Tuesday. Oh, my God. What a game last night at Raymond James Stadium. A historic win by the Buccaneers, 32-9 over the Eagles. And their poor fans had to tuck their little eagle tails and head back to Philadelphia or Brandon or Newport Richie or wherever they live and just burn their jerseys. What a historic performance by Todd Bowles and his defense. Dave Canales being aggressive on offense. We're going to get into all the hows and whys and whats of this game last night. The fans were absolutely incredible. The crew showed up in huge numbers and great voice. No rain. All you folks scared of the rain. Forecast change, right? Just like this season. What a night. Nick Geddes from On3 Sports joining me this morning. And Nick, I know you watched it from the cozy confines. I was there in the middle of that freaking bananas crowd. What did it look like on TV?
The energy came through the television screen. There's no doubt about it. I mean, they're showing Ric Flair before the game, and he's going, woo, on the pregame show and picking the Bucs. And they're showing, I think Hulk Hogan was there. I think Tom Cruise was there. Gerald McCoy, Warren Sapp. I mean, you name it.
Aaron Judge. Wanted to see what a winner looks like.
Yeah, Aaron Judge wearing the Bucs jersey. I mean, you don't have to stay in New York, Aaron. You don't have to.
There you go, yeah.
Lincoln Riley was there to see his two former quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's proud of one, and the other one, not so much.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was just Tampa on the flip side of the Brady era, like, has that aura still. Yeah. And it felt like a big freaking deal to be on Monday Night Football and to be hosting a home playoff game. And the crowd, I mean, you were there live, but I don't think I've heard it that loud coming over the TV ever.
Yeah, I purposefully went down the hall and got into a booth, the Westwood One booth, and just listened to the crowd because the press box is sealed off, and I hate that. I hate it because it just doesn't allow you to soak in the atmosphere and the how that crowd impacted the game. There's no question the crowd impacted the game. That's as loud as I think I've heard that stadium maybe ever. I hate to be a prisoner of the moment, but that was explosively loud. When Trey Palmer turned on the afterburners, holy heck, that place just exploded like a bomb. I mean, it was, you could feel the shake of the crowd. So the crew showed up, and I was worried about that. I was really worried about it. I thought this was going to be, and Baker said it after the game. He said, he was kind of laughing. He's like, yeah, this was nothing like the regular season game. And the players, I'm going to tell you, they were not okay with that. They were not okay with what happened in the first. They talked about it and they were pissed about it. And the way the crowd showed up last night, had it been different, I think it may have affected the game. I think the players would have been like, what the hell? Not for a playoff game, we can't fill our own stadium, but that didn't happen. I'd say it was 10% max Eagles fans concentrated behind their bench, but the crowd was a huge part of it. And the other big part of it, Nick, quite frankly, and I said this last night on our post-game show with Peter, this was Todd Bowles' game. This was his Picasso. This was his masterpiece. This was, I would say, the pinnacle of his coaching career, even better than winning a Super Bowl and keeping Patrick Mahomes out of the end zone. He may disagree with me, but the fact that he's the head coach for this one,
right,
and not just the defensive coordinator, not that that's not important, but we've talked about this. Being a head coach is hard. And yes, I've been very hard on Todd Bowles, and I thought if he lost this game that there was a chance that they might fire him. And if they lost last week, I don't think it would have even been a question for the Glazers. And that was closer than when anybody would like to admit in that game. He did not find a way for this team to play well in their biggest moment against the Saints. The game plan was terrible. And I think he learned from all of that. I think he learned that you can't play safe. You cannot play safe. And that was the complete antithesis of every game plan that we've seen almost the entire season. He came up with creative blitzes, and I mean really creative stuff. I saw Anthony Nelson standing up behind the defensive line. And I'm like, wow, he's playing middle linebacker now? Saw Yaya Diaby in the same position, guys coming off the edge, guys coming from everywhere, and it was relentless. There's so many times that we've seen Todd Bowles, and we've talked about this, that he doesn't play to his strengths. He worries like, oh, they know we're going to blitz because Wink Martindale blitz, so we're not going to blitz. No, it works. And you have the best blitzing team in football with the speed of your linebackers. That's what Devin White does best. It's the only thing he does well. And you use that to perfection, and you never stopped. Never stopped. Every third down, every fourth down, he was coming. He didn't care. I think the only one he did was on a 3rd and 21, which, of course, not really smart to blitz in that situation. You don't need to, right? So, but every other one he did 63% of the time they blitzed last night, and they played cover 0 behind it. And Anthony Nelson, I'm going to play this soundbite here in a little bit, talked about how great the guys covered behind him and how critical that was. But this is what we've been asking for Todd Bowles. Be all last week. Did we not say this? Be aggressive. Stay aggressive.
Even the players were talking about it all week. I mean, it really is the difference between this team being bang average, which I thought they were, and then coming out and looking like they can hang or beat anybody in the league. Like, that's how different this Bucs team can be when they are aggressive. And you mentioned the Super Bowl. That's what I was thinking of last night. I was like, man, this is like, I've seen this story before. Yeah. This is the same thing they did to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs in that Super Bowl, and it really was the pinnacle, like you said, of Todd Bowles' head coaching career was this game, and it's fitting. That one was, 31-9, and this one was 32-9.
Interesting.
So they literally were like the same game, and without A.J. Brown being in the lineup, I think it was clear, like, hey, the only guy that can really beat us is Devonta Smith. Yeah. And guess what? It beat you a little. He got his. But there was nobody else on that team, whether it was Quez Watkins, Julio Jones, for crying out loud, Zacchaeus, Goddard, Swift, Gainwell. I mean, they weren't scared of those guys. And when you rush the passer at the rate that they did yesterday and getting home and getting the pressures and making Hurts kind of going, how many times did you see him go on his back foot last night?
All night long.
Could get no velocity on his throws.
Yep.
Yeah, you're good. And as long as you do your job on the back end, that's what you're looking for. That's the key to success. A great pass rush is great pass defense and vice versa. So it really was a perfect storm last night for the Bucs, and Todd Bowles deserves the most credit. And I said this yesterday on Twitter. I mean, he's had his naysayers. Yep. I've been one of them. You've been one of them.
I think it's fair criticism.
And I think it's all been fair criticism. I think every Bucs fan has had their share of it. But when it really, really mattered most, and coaching with his back against the wall and playing the defending NFC champion in your home stadium in a playoff game, it was masterful. It really was Todd Bowles showing everybody, like, hey, I am that guy as a defensive coordinator, by the way. Like, I know defense. And it's crazy, too. Like, Todd Bowles didn't even call a single timeout yesterday. Like, that's how lopsided it was. He didn't have to call a single timeout because the Bucs were never in, like, situations like that. I mean, in taking the Eagles out of it, how many times did you see the tush push last night?
Once.
You saw it once on a 2-point conversion. You want to know why?
0 for 1.
Because the Bucs never allowed them to get to 3rd and 1, to 3rd and 2, to 3rd and inches. And when you take that away from the Eagles, they looked pretty ordinary to me.
Very ordinary. And the other brilliant genius plan, and this was my biggest issue with the Bucs this week, is how you going to stop the run? I mean, all they got to do is turn around and hand it off like they did in the first game for 201 yards. And I said, but and the problem in that game was Devin White. They went right after him. Almost every one of their big runs up the middle were targeting Devin White. And I said, if they go with that same lineup, they're going to get gashed. Well, guess what? Todd Bowles made a change. I can't believe he did it. He sat Devin White down. KJ Britt played, I believe, 33 snaps, and Devin White played 26. I can't believe it. And this is what we've been asking for. Yes, I've been critical of Todd Bowles, but the things we've asked him to do, he did last night. And I'm not saying he's listening to me. That's not what I'm saying. But he did them. He went in the 6-man front: Cansey, Golston, Vea, and Hall. 4 big guys. Well, Cansey's not that big, but we know how he plays.
He plays bigger.
Yeah, he does, and he's hard. And in the run game, he just disrupts the blocking patterns, and that keeps the linebackers free. And then outside linebackers, Diaby and Shaq Barrett, and Yaya's 270. And then inside linebackers, he had David and Britt. That was the difference. That goes from 201 yards on 40 carries to 42 yards rushing. Are you freaking kidding me? And everybody was killing Sirianni for abandoning the run. The Eagles fans were. And I think to some degree they did that. But they couldn't run the football.
Well, it's weird though. First 2 plays of the game, they ran pretty well, and it was
they
like
got a 9-yarder and a 2-yard. Yeah,
it was like, oh boy, they could probably do this at ease if they wanted to, and they just they've done this a lot. I've watched a lot of Eagles games, and it's been a criticism of their OC Brian Johnson is he gets away from the run rather quickly, even when it's kind of working, and you saw that, and that wasn't the gameplay for the Eagles was horrendous. It really was. I mean, you only had Devontae Smith as a target who was really your go-to guy all night. And they just kind of kept forcing it. I know they were behind, and at some point you have to start throwing it a little bit. But Bowles gave him nothing. Gave him absolutely nothing to work with.
Yeah, so those 2 plans were pure genius. And, it's very unlike Todd Bowles in the biggest moments to do daring, bold stuff. But he did it. And it worked to perfection.
But it's the same thing in the 2020 postseason when he was calling the defense. It was the same thing. He was aggressive the entire Super Bowl run, and that defense got hot and carried them all the way. And, obviously, to varying degrees, the last 2 postseasons, it didn't really happen. But he got back to what works and playing to his players' strengths. And even another one you didn't mention, Zion McCollum. Get that guy on the field, man. He's ready.
He's fantastic.
He can play, and he was out there for most of the time last night, and he's doing his job. He's going to give up some, that. But he's a good cover guy, and they got him in the slot a little bit, and he was great.
One of their best. Yeah, and it's 6'3", 220, running a 4.4. He made a play on Smith that he broke up the middle, caught a ball over like on a slant. One of the few blitzes they completed a ball, and he was breaking up the middle, and I thought he was gone. He hit the afterburners, and Zion he just he's not going to catch him, but he had a little burst. Reached out and grabbed his leg and took him down. That was a huge play. I think they held him to 3 in that situation. So Zion's speed and size is it's first round worthy. I mean, he's a 4.4 guy at 6'3", 215, 220 pounds. You saw that lick he put on Julio Jones.
Took him out of the game.
Knocked him out of the game. Yeah. It caused a fumble too. That could have been a fumble. But he actually landed right on the ball. Otherwise it would have been a fumble because he was out.
I wonder who knocked it out, by the way.
That'd be Devontae David.
Yeah, of course he did.
Yeah, of course he did. Yeah, it just that was a virtuoso performance by the defense, and Todd Bowles needs all the credit. I saw him after the game, and he was, it's funny. You think like after a game like this, the head coach of the winning team would just be, he would be mobbed. There'd be people around him everywhere. And I literally I was walking, the locker room was almost deserted by the time we got in there after the 2 press conferences. The guys got out of there quick. There was a party somewhere and they were there. They were all gone, save a few. But Todd was just kind of like, had this big old shiz-eating grin on his face, and he was just walking by himself, kind of, out of the locker room. And I kind of hung back just to kind of watch it. And he, security guard's like, congrats, coach. And he's got this big, but for a good, probably 2 or 3 minutes, he was just kind of walking alone, really slow to his family. And I passed by and I said, congrats, coach, hell of a win. And it was just interesting to see that, to be quite honest. And he was just soaking it in. Yeah. He's soaking it in. And then his family was waiting for him outside, and he got these huge hugs. And I have been critical of him, but I've always said how much I like him and how much I'm rooting for him. And I could not be happier for that dude. I could not be happier for him. He has secured an extension of some sort. Will he lead a team to a Super Bowl? If he continues to coach like this, absolutely. Absolutely. And, we say, what is this, his sixth year of head coaching? Yep. I think he's 41 and 57 cumulatively. A lot of those were bad teams with the Jets. He's done a really good job with what he's had to work with, but it's been frustrating, the inconsistency of this team. And I think you and I have watched it and said, there's more here, man. There's more here. And he's got some tools, and the way he's managing the games is just too timid, but not last night. And I really believe he's still in a learning process, especially with this team. I mean, it takes a while to really figure out who does what, who can do what, in what circumstances. Will they be able to hold up in zero coverage the entire game? And they did.
Yeah.
Carlton Davis, Jamel Dean, Zion McCollum, they played extremely well.
Yeah, and the big difference is when you come out, when you start fast. I mean, this Bucs team, when they get a lead on you, I mean, they're pretty good at holding that down. And when they get a lead, it seems like it motivates them or it galvanizes them, whatever word you want to use.
Yeah.
And they do a really good job. When they get behind, they're just not a good chasing football team. They're not built that way. So I think that's really the key, and I think that's why Bowles just didn't mess around yesterday. It was like,
That's a great point.
I hate like the whole thing about, oh, this team wanted it more than the other. I've always hated that thing because I'm like, these guys are paid professionals. They all want to win. Everybody wants it. But last night was different. Last night was just a little bit different. Like, that's the one time where I will tell you, no, the Bucs wanted that way more than the Eagles did. The Eagles looked disinterested.
Yep.
And like they were just trying to get to the offseason, and that the coach, who I would expect probably is going to get canned from this, which it just tells you how quick things move in the National Football League.
Yep.
I mean, even the play that set the tone and kind of points to that was the Rashad White. I think it was on the first drive of the game where he gets that little screen pass, I think it was. And it looked like he was going to get wrapped up easily for like a loss of 1 or something like that, or only get a yard. And he just keeps on chugging through. Angry run worthy and taking on guys. It took like 4 guys to bring him to the ground, and not before he just nudged himself above the first line. It's those little plays right there where I go, man, the Bucs really, really wanted that. And the Eagles, I mean, if you look at their tackling last night,
it was putrid.
I was watching the Manning cast a little bit because Ray Lewis was on. Ray Lewis was about to lose it on the David Moore or the Trey Palmer touchdown, rather.
Yeah.
I mean, he was literally like coming out of his seat. He's like,
the David Moore one was probably worse.
The David Moore was worse. And the crazy thing is, like, this is Darius Slay, this is James Bradbury, this is Kevin Byard. I mean, these guys are.
They playing the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah, 2 of those guys did, and Bradbury and Slay, and then Byard comes over. These guys have been all-pro players, and they can't even tackle. It's like the Eagles like aged overnight, like midway through the season, and the Bucs had all this youth. I think they had 10 guys from the last 2 draft classes who were starting that game last night, which is just incredible. Jason Like, shout out to him, awesome GM. And you saw the difference there. A team that was energized and ready to go, and another one that just looked like they just didn't want to be there.
And I watched a little bit of Get Up this morning, and it just made me sick that it was all about the Eagles. I knew it would be.
Of course.
It was all about how the Eagles are this and the Eagles were that, blah, 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 blah. A little bit of, cursory. Tap on the head to Todd Bowles and the Bucs. Oh, nice job, kids. But the Eagles, there's really good job. But the Eagles, oh my God, Sirianni, Howie Roseman, he's the problem. I'm like, I know it's the culture at ESPN. That's what they have to do. They have to play to the big markets, and it's all about negativity and all that. But I mean, give the Bucs their due, for God's sakes, for a little bit.
They took that game from them.
They did.
They really did. And
we haven't even started to talk about the offense, which we will get to here in just a little bit. And Baker Mayfield and what he had to go through to play this game. It's unbelievable. All right, let's listen to Anthony Nelson, who had a huge play in this game. I mean, the Eagles were starting to make a little bit of a run. And he just kind of forced Jalen Hurts out. And I think Jalen Hurts kind of looked at Anthony Nelson and go like, I got this guy, he ain't bringing me down. And he did. And I asked, we talked about these blitzes and what Bowles and how his answers are just so cool, talking about Bowles during the week. And I can just see Todd in the meetings with his big smile going, here's what we're going to do. And it worked. So here's Anthony Nelson.
Just the way we were playing, we were foot on the gas, just being aggressive, and I think it had less to do with them and just more about how we were playing as a defense. Like I said, we were playing good at all levels, making plays, covering guys, doing all that. So get pressure when we had pressure called. I think it just kind of came together for us and showed what we can be as a defense.
Anthony, I saw a lot of different blitzes tonight. I think I saw you standing up in the middle one time. Was this a whole new defensive game plan, a whole new array of blitzes that you came up with this week?
Well, yeah, I didn't come up with it. Well, that's for sure. But Bowles, yes, yeah, it was new new blitzes for this week, and I'm sure we'll have a good stack of blitzes when we come back in the building for next week. But that's the Bulls' magic right there.
Is
he's creative with it? Yeah.
Energize you guys?
It excites us. We come in and we're doing the installs, and we see all these different pressures, different looks, and we hope that we can cause a little confusion, buy us a little time, get some pressure, and we'll cover on the back end. It allows us to be aggressive. So it's fun being in the meetings, seeing him get excited about all these calls he's coming up with, and then to see him executed like that and work, it's special. It's fun, and it makes this game so fun.
You had a lot of free runners tonight, too.
Sorry, what'd you say?
You had a lot of free runners tonight, so they were working. And
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like, we executed them well, and they were working, and it's a beautiful thing when it works.
And subsequent to that conversation, when we were all done, all the reporters, they kind of pulled him to the side and asked him were the Eagles offensive linemen frustrated by the relentless pass rush, and were they confused? And he was like, yeah, they were. They didn't know where we were coming from, and they kept trying to make adjustments, but we kept hitting them with different stuff. And when you get that, you get the other team on their heels like that. Now, contrast that, Nick, to the last quarter against the Houston Texans. And as we've come to know, CJ Stroud's a pretty good, and we said that at the time. I'm like, that dude was dropping dimes.
Not a rookie quarterback.
Not a rookie quarterback. And when he went down the field, it was impressive. That said, the Bucs were so soft.
Right.
They were so soft. And we went through this period, and we talked about this. When you play a soft defense that backed off cover 2 and you're 10, 12 yards off the ball, your team plays that way. They're just they're not aggressive in their tackling. The Bucs just look glazed over when they're playing that defense, that zone defense, that cover 2. When they're playing cover 0 and they're coming after your ass, they look like their hair's on fire. And yeah, sometimes they've gotten beaten doing that this year, but the majority of the time they have won. And if they do this to Jared Goff next week, Jared Goff will be better. Amon-Ra St. Brown, they've got some answers. There's no question about it. It won't work as well, but it'll work. You may get a couple of turnovers, which you're gonna need, and we got plenty of time to talk about it, but you gotta stay aggressive. And I think hearing Anthony say that is proof positive.
And I just love too, like the committee approach they took. I mean, it wasn't like so many oftentimes we talked about, Antoine Winfield bailed the Bucs out today, or Levante David bailed the Bucs out today. Winfield made a nice play early in the game. He also gave up the long over. He was a little bit flat-footed on the Devonta Smith long reception.
Jamel Dean.
So was Jamel Dean. But it was, Anthony Nelson, he got the safety. Greg Gaines got a sack. Logan Hall was making plays. KJ Britt, when he was in there, KJ Britt looks like it's the easiest decision ever. That's going to be your linebacker. That's going to be your starting linebacker next year, and I could say that with confidence. Zion McCollum was making plays. Logan Hall even had a nice play. It was Cansey obviously was just a beast, an absolute beast in the middle. Yaya Diaby continuing to flash. Even JTS, much maligned. I thought he played well last night, and even Devin. Devin got in for like 20-something snaps. He didn't do anything to hurt you.
No.
And I count that as a win.
Yes, absolutely.
So, it was just everybody was so locked in last night, and Bowles was dialing it up for everybody, where before it was have to be hero ball. Antoine, go make a play for us, please. Levante, go make a play for us. They didn't need that last night.
And don't undersell the fact that Bowles started KJ Britt. I think, we've talked about this. I think that sent a message to the team that, okay, we're not playing favorites anymore. You earned it. You're going to go out there. And I think that, guys aren't whispering. Guys aren't because they know Devin White was killing them. They knew it. They watched the film every week.
And listen, Devin played better. Devin played better when he's not being counted to be in pass coverage and in run run support.
Don't ask him to take on blockers and shed them and play the run. He can't do it. Don't ask him to cover running backs one-on-one or tight ends that are in motion. He doesn't get it. He can't figure it out. And we know it by now. So don't put him in those positions. I said that earlier in the season. I said it's not Devin White's problem anymore. It's Todd Bowles. And if he keeps putting him in these positions, he's going to get burned. That's just it. The guy, he doesn't have it. He doesn't either watch the film or study the film or whatever. He loses his assignments constantly, and teams take advantage of it. It's not going to change at this point. So don't allow them to do that. put him in situations where he rushes the passer. He dropped a couple of times, but for the most part, those are easy drops. Those are, just there's no reading the tight end. There's no man-to-man. It's zone drop. This is where you go. It's where he got his pick a couple weeks ago. So, yeah, and they figured that part out. All right, so flipping over to the offense, thumbs up to Dave Canales for that game plan as well. He was uber aggressive. I think I saw more pre-snap motion, more deep motion from the wide receivers, the eye candy that the Eagles have really had a hard time with. He isolated their defensive backs in certain situations, and Baker Mayfield was fantastic. He was pulling the trigger, and boy, was he mobile. When I first, I think it was the first or second series, he moved up into the pocket and broke out and ran and slid. I said, wow, he is spry. He looks really good. And that ankle, and we were told, there were some things that Baker had to do to get ready for this game, like he had to stretch out the muscles and the ligaments in his chest that were already damaged. I mean, can you imagine how much pain that is? But he had to do that in order to get them to heal faster, and probably spent about 6 to 8 hours a day in a cold tub.
And I'm sure he's feeling it today because he took some licks, and it mostly is because he has if there's one negative to Baker, he holds onto the ball a little bit too long and tries to make a play. You're just happy he doesn't. The difference between him and some of the other quarterbacks is he doesn't throw it into harm's way in those situations. He tries to kind of just keep scrambling, and eventually he gets taken down
or eats it.
But gamer. I mean, we've been saying it all year. The guy is a gamer, and when his back is against the wall, and he said it yesterday on the ESPN broadcast, I and this team, we embrace being the underdog. We are comfortable in that situation. And listen, last night, if Kate Otten and Mike Evans wanted to catch the football in the first half, Baker Mayfield probably is pushing close to a perfect passer rating.
Yeah.
Like, literally. And the Bucs, by the way, are probably hanging a 40 burger.
Yeah, by the way, TJC22 just put it up. Good morning to you. His adjusted completion percent was 90% for the drops. Yeah, and the ball he throws the the deep ball on the goal line right on the pylon. Touchdown. The one to Otten over the middle where he was interfered with, but he's got to catch that. Got to
catch that. And then there was another one too where he's wide open in the middle of the field.
Otten,
and he's running and he just
as good as Otten played, man. He could have been 11 for 11.
Exactly. He could have been 11 for like 130 and a tud last night. But then he makes the tough catches too. It's crazy. Yeah. Like in traffic, he's making all these crazy catches. But again, the Eagles just had no fight, so it ended up not being a story. But that's how good Baker was yesterday.
He was super
337 yards and 3 touchdowns. By the way, the only Bucs quarterback to do that in a playoff game, Tom Brady, who did it 3 times.
And I don't think Tom ever had 5 tutties in a playoff game with the Bucs.
I don't think so, no.
Yeah, so Baker should have had 5 tutties and would have been the greatest passing performance ever by a Buck. He was tremendous, and the running game was good too. They got over 100 yards rushing, so good balance. I believe they did, yeah. Rashad White was really, really good. And so many, and it wasn't just like he ripped off huge runs. It was 7, 8, 6, 7, 8. And a couple of those runs, he had no business getting 4.
Right. Or even getting 4, It's like it's so much better than just going to the line and getting stuff for 0 or getting 1. Like 4 is good.
Yeah.
4 is good. I will take that.
Yeah. And the offensive line did a tremendous job. I thought they were phenomenal all night. They were winning up front. Time and time again.
Outside of Stinney. Stinney is still going through it a know it right now.
Yeah,
but everyone else, though, I thought came to play.
I don't know if he's hurt or what, because he was so much better earlier in the season. They got to, they may have to, I hate to say go back to Filer, but if Stinney is hurt, because he played so much better earlier in the season, I don't know what's really going on with him, but that was not his best game. Geddes got beat, I think, on 1 or 2 sacks. Had a couple of holding situations that weren't called, thankfully. But all in all, just a phenomenal, and we got to, once again, give it up for Chase McLaughlin. I mean, that dude just never freaking misses. I mean, he is absolute money every single time. All right, we got to hit a break because Scott Reynolds is coming up next. We got so much more Bucs talk, folks. We're not going to stop. We got 2 hours of Bucs talk coming your way. TJ Reeves will join us as well. We'll look ahead a little bit to the Detroit game as well. So much more to talk about and dissect here. We'll get Scott Reynolds' take from the Pewter Report coming up next. This wonderful program is brought to you by the great folks at the Jeeves Law Group. So if you like it and you have any need for legal representation against an insurance company, an accident, your car was totaled, and you don't think you got what you deserve, call the Jeeves Law Group, Jeeves lawgroup.com. Scott Jeeves, big fan of the program, big Gator fan, local guy, has a St. Pete office and a Tampa office, so you could visit them there, and the fine attorneys there, big enough to take on those big insurance companies, but small enough to make you important. It's the Jeeves Law Group, Jeeves lawgroup.com. Back in 3 with Scott Reynolds on this Victory Tuesday. JP here for my friends at your local Synovus Bank, and I do mean friends, and I do mean local. One of the local managers in Tampa is John Acosta, big fan of the show, and I've known him for over 40 years. He's been in local banking since 1983. You talk about developing relationships. You don't stick around for that long unless you're doing things the right way and have a great reputation, and that's the focus company-wide at Synovus. Big enough to handle any complex international transaction, but small enough to answer the phone when you have an urgent question about your business or personal account. And for personal accounts, they have a very easy app that works great. You can do everything online. And for large or small businesses, you will get that personal touch and services to help build your business, taking your dreams and aspirations from the whiteboard to reality. We can make that happen. Let us show you how. For a Get Acquainted meeting to open a business or personal account, just call John or go to synovus.com to find out where your local branch is. JP here for the Geddes Gordon Real Estate Group and our good friend Jane Geddes. Folks, simply put, there is nobody like Jane. Jane is a former LPGA two-time major championship winner. She was also vice president of talent relations at WWE. She also has a law degree from Stetson. So if Jane can drain a 10-footer to win the U.S. Open and stare down Hulk Hogan in the boardroom, you want Jane on your real estate team to not only negotiate the best deal, but find you the perfect home or investment property. And when you work with the Geddes Gordon Group, you become part of the real estate family and get concierge services that include expertly staging, marketing, and preparing your home for sale. Advice on golf properties. Hey, you might even get some golf tips. Many of their clients become friends long after the sale or purchase is completed. It's all part of the deal. So if you're looking for that perfect home or investment property or trying to get top dollar for your home, go with Jane Geddes and the Geddes Gordon Group, because there's nobody like Jane. Call 813-485-6808 or go to geddesgordon.kw.com. That's GEDDES Gordon.kw.com or call 813-485-6808. Start the new year with a new diamond from the Gold and Diamond Source. It's still engagement season. Where better to get that special ring than the Gold and Diamond Source? Of course, I just got mine there. I'm engaged. You should do the same thing. Let's go. Gold and Diamond Source has the largest selection of engagement rings in the country. A literal jewelry superstore with 30 times the inventory of any normal jeweler. And if you have a loved one or a special person in your life who has a birthday this month, maybe you have an anniversary coming up, you can get 15% off the January birthstone, which is garnet, as in garnet and gold for all your Seminoles. Celebrate that mythical national championship. And it's the Gold and Diamond Source's 40th anniversary. For the past 40 years, they have taken pride in offering only natural diamonds formed over billions of years from the Earth's incredible forces. And gold prices are at an all-time high. Now's your chance to turn your jewelry box into a cash machine. It's the perfect time to trade in your broken or unworn pieces for something new and stunning. It's the Gold and Diamond Source, 3800 Almerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com.
Let's go. Right now, back to the show with JP.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show. As you can see, JP is still making his way back out of break, but we are joined now by Scott Reynolds of the Pewter Report, who was there last night at Raymond James Stadium.
Yeah, we don't need JP. We'll just do the show, Nick.
Yeah, we don't need JP at all.
It's okay, JP. You can just chill. It's okay. We got this, JP. You can go back to doing whatever you're doing.
Well, I had to drop off an Eagles in the bathroom there, an Eagles performance in the bathroom there. So I saw so much of it last night, I was inspired.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Boy, what hot garbage Philly is. I mean, couldn't happen to a better team, right? And the funny thing is, people say Cowboys fans are so obnoxious. It's awesome when they lose. Yeah, but they never win. So it's not even like fun, right? It's kind of like, oh, let's get excited about
the thing is so old and tired now. I mean,
yeah, it is. It's so and Skip Bayless and stuff.
Yeah, I'm just glad that the 10% of them that made the trip, instead of like 60 at week 3, I'm just glad they're all going home because my city felt a little douchey this week. It
there's
really
no doubt.
did. The vibes were off.
Go It sounds, I can't even use the word anymore because it's not politically correct, but it starts,
we know exactly what you mean. Yeah. No, it was, but again, we do not want to spend the morning talking about how bad Philadelphia was.
That's
we'll
right.
leave that to ESPN and Get Up, and they give the Bucs absolutely no credit for what they did.
Oh man.
And I think the Eagles were somewhat in disarray. We all know this, but it's not like they laid down last night.
No,
and they knew damn well this was a playoff game, and they could
7-point game for most of it. The first half for sure.
They could have righted their season, but we've kind of given our opinion, Scott. I'm going to give you the floor to say what your takeaways were from last night's game.
Blown away by Todd Bowles. I mean, what an absolute defensive mastermind performance this was. This was, in my opinion, his best masterpiece since Super Bowl 55.
I said it was better because he's the head coach and not just
so. I mean,
in his resume,
the only reason I can't say that is because it's like Patrick Mahomes here, Jalen Hurts here, Kelsey here, Dallas Goedert here. So, and the game meant more because it was a Super Bowl. This was just wild card round, but the creativity to go with a 6-man defensive line. It's funny because I had Jeff Steeper, who was a former South Pasco Predators offensive line coach back when I coached Pop Warner. He texted me last night during the game. I've heard from him for years, and he says, man, like Todd Bowles running out some 6-man Pop Warner defensive line stuff tonight, because that's the kind of stuff that I would call as well. It's like, you want to run the ball? Sure, let's do it now, right? Let's put 4 defensive tackles out there and our 2 outside linebackers and swap KJ Britt in for Devin White because Britt can actually get off blocks and make tackles.
That was huge. That was huge. We've been talking about that all year, that Bowles wouldn't do it. Yep. He wouldn't do it. And that to me is the number one sign.
Sometimes you need to get forced to do it, JP. Yeah. Sometimes the head coach needs his arm twisted a little bit. So
you think there was a little coercion from upstairs, maybe?
I think so. Also, too, listen, Zion McCollum. This is a guy. I mean, we always talk and joke about Devin White being Todd's guy. Todd Bowles has been infatuated with Zion McCollum for a long time, and it's kind of been like a slow burn with McCollum, right? It's like, he was forced to play so much this year, which was great for the kid because he just needed experience. I mean, it's like, NFL, Sam Houston State, right? It's not like LSU, Alabama, NFL. This is like Sam Houston State, right? So he had a huge jump to make. Struggled last year. He started played more snaps than Jamel Dean or Carlton Davis, the 2 starters, because they were always hurt this year, and did such a great job that Bowles said, I got to get this guy in the field. I mean, we have Jamel and Carlton in this game. What am I going to do, right? So I'm going to put this kid at free safety, and move Winfield up in the box so I can blitz him. And with the Eagles being such a good running team, my best tackler is Antoine Winfield Jr. I'm going to put him closer to the action so we stop the Eagles' run game before it starts. Brilliant, masterful scheming by Bowles.
Absolutely.
You saw Kayvon Merriweather rotate in a little bit. They went with a double slot package that had Merriweather and Winfield at safety, and then you had McCollum and Chris Izzian in there as nickels, essentially. Just crazy good scheming. It all worked. It was all brilliant. They stopped the tush push.
Yeah.
JP, I'm a defensive guy at heart. You know this.
Yeah.
And it's like, I got really excited. Really excited. When I saw 0 for 9 on 3rd down in a playoff game.
And 0 for 2 on 4th.
What are you doing, Todd Bowles? What are you doing?
And I think every one of those except maybe one was a blitz.
Yeah.
3rd and 21, I think, was the only time he did not blitz on all of those.
I mean, if you had the checklist of this is what we want to accomplish in this game, the only box that wasn't checked was shutout. I mean, that was it.
Yep.
Otherwise, and honestly, takeaways. They did this to the Eagles without even getting a takeaway on defense, right? They did get a safety, so that kind of counts because you get 2 points, you get the ball right back, and then, I don't know, Trey Palmer 2 plays later, boom, nail and coffin, right?
Wow.
But I mean, Todd Bowles, and we've said it all along, and I've never called for Todd Bowles to get fired. I know there's some people that think that out there. I'm simply going by an educated guess about what had to happen.
That's right.
We needed to see two things from Todd Bowles this year. And when I say we, I meant the Glazers and general manager Jason Light, because the guy does have a 17-17 regular season record. They needed to see improvement. They got that. 1-win improvement. They only have 17 games in the league, so 1 win, it counts, right? It's 9-8 versus 8-9. But then you get into their home playoff game, and it makes a difference when it's at home, right?
Yeah, a $6 million gate.
Damn right. And he delivered. And he he proved to the Glazers, to Jason Light, to the organization, to his players, to the fans, to the media, I can win in the postseason. I can win playoff games, because you're not going to win a Super Bowl unless you win the wild card, unless you win the division, unless you win the conference championship, right? And we'll see how far this team can go this year. But Todd Bowles showed in dramatic fashion that he can win playoff games. And I don't want to take anything away from Dave Canales, because what a brilliant job he did.
Oh my God,
destroying
tremendous.
the Eagles.
Yeah.
But to me, this was Todd Bowles' night, because there were some questions that needed to be answered, and he answered them emphatically. He is and will be the Buccaneers head coach in 2024. He deserves it.
Absolutely.
Canales comes back.
100%.
Baker Mayfield's coming back. There's a chance that this Buccaneer team is just getting started and can continue to rule the roost in what I believe is going to be a downtrodden NFC South again. I think we can see some separation here. I think the Buccaneers can elevate to 10 wins, 11 wins. Harder schedule next year, but you have to give Todd Bowles his props. He deserves the right to coach this team next year and possibly beyond.
It's odd how symbiotic we are in our takes on this game last night. Absolutely
smart, JP.
I don't know how you could have another take on it. I know everybody wants to focus on the Eagles' downfall.
The Eagles, that's all. Yeah, that's what it is.
Scott, I thought the Bucs just straight up just took the game from them, and I said this, like, I usually don't like the whole of, this team wanted it more than the other, because these guys are paid professionals, and you would like to think that everybody obviously wants to win the game. It's just all execution, game plan, and everything. But last night, I mean, that was different. I mean, it really was. Like, I can't sit here and act like the Eagles are not a story of this game. Like, the way they played, I mean, the tackling. I was watching the Manning cast, and Ray Lewis was, like, coming unglued at the tackling on the Trey Palmer play. And then you see the David Moore play was even worse. And these are guys who are obviously a little older, but they are all former All-Pro players. And you would think, like, if anything, you should still be able to tackle, but it just wasn't there. It felt like the Bucs really wanted it more, which is something I usually hate.
You're right, and everything you said is true, but I've seen enough bad Buccaneer football, like in the dark ages, right? Like that time between John Gruden and Bruce Arians, right, where there's like a lot of head coaches and not much wins in terms of success. We've seen that before from teams that just don't want to be on the field because – and then the avalanche, right? That one dagger play from David Moore, and here we go again, right? And we've seen it in Tampa, so I can recognize it, right? You can see the body language. You can see it from the press box, right? Just grab the binoculars, look at the Eagles sidelines. It's flat. They're looking at each other like, here we go again, right?
Yep.
We've seen that in Tampa, so I know what that looks like, and that's exactly what happened, and that's why. And I think we might have even said it on the show last week. Winning the first quarter is crucial. It's crucial for Tampa Bay to gain some momentum and just put away this bad Eagles team. And a 10-0 lead was exactly what the doctor ordered. And the crazy thing is the Buccaneers left so much meat on the bone.
Oh my God!
I was texting with Dave Canales late last night, and he's just like, "Can you imagine if Mike Evans caught both of those passes?"
Yeah, and Cade Otton caught his touchdown over the middle.
Still running. If he caught that ball, he's literally still running, and here we are on Tuesday afternoon, right? So, yes, it could have, and it should have been even worse, but that just goes to show you how much room there is to grow in this offense. And as much as I love Cade Otton, and he had his night, I mean, imagine if they had a tight end who caught the touchdown pass, who caught that pass, right? And you're looking at 10 catches for 140 yards and a touchdown for Otton. That's what he should have had, right? just so much encouraging signs from this. And I don't know what's going to happen. All right, Detroit's a really good team. They really are. And I think the Buccaneers did as much beating of themselves in the last game as the Lions did to take that game. Jared Goff is a puzzle that Todd Bowles has yet to solve. This would be the next step for Todd Bowles. Okay, you get another shot at Jared Goff, who even when you went out to L.A. in the Coliseum and beat the Rams, like, what was it, 55 to 40 something, right?
43, I think,
Yeah, Goff still threw for 500 yards in that game. So Jared Goff has been, he's been a little bit of a nightmare for Todd Bowles. He's got to solve Jared Goff. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, and Josh Reynolds. Those are some formidable weapons. Oh, and also Sam Laporta is really good too, right?
Yeah.
They've got a couple of good running backs. So we're going to need to see this, but different on Sunday against Detroit. But I do like Zion McCollum at safety because, man, it gives them so much speed on the field. And you saw, even though, hey, I'm a rookie safety, right? I took a little bit of a bad angle for Devontae Smith. I still have the speed to track him down.
That's right.
The touchdown, which he did.
Yeah, that little burst of speed was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And a little back to the offense, what we saw last night is something else that we've been kind of begging for, and that's a more multiple offense, more targets to the other guys, because we see the kryptonite for this Bucs offense is double Chris, double Mike, and then we'll deal with the rest, and that usually works. It usually works. But now, Baker's starting to develop some chemistry. David Moore, we said this a month ago when he flashed. He's got to play more. When the ball is in his hands, magic happens. He is a great runner of the football. He needs 3 to 5 targets a game, in my opinion.
I agree.
And we saw it, and I'm telling you, man, I almost waited for the sonic boom when Trey Palmer hit the afterburners. Like when you see the jet go, and then like a second later you hear the boom. It was the same thing when he hit the afterburners, and then the whole crowd exploded. It was like, what? And we all it was the audible gasp, as you know, in the press conference. Everybody was like, in the press box, wow,
I know.
What was that?
It's like, in my mind, when he caught that and took that first step and just literally split those defenders, like the sound in my mind was, just like flooring it. And it's like, all of a sudden, it's like Trey Palmer's like, wait a minute, I run like 4.3. That's right. Let me use that right now. Yeah, I mean, it was phenomenal. So hats off to the Buccaneers for those complimentary players really stepping up, and not just on the offensive side. Anthony Nelson, Greg Gaines on the defensive side. They stopped the tush push. KJ Britt over the top, dragging Jalen Hurts back. You have Levante and Winfield pushing him, keeping him from the end zone like they were a force field. But underneath, if you go back and watch the tush push, and I talked to Logan Hall after this game, Logan he's not had that instant success that you want your top pick to have. It's been a work in progress. I kind of know Logan. We talk a lot, and I have an appreciation for how hard it's been to go from Houston as a starter to wave player last year, and then starter this year, and do it with like 35 more pounds than you had when you played in college, and get used to playing at that weight, right? And double teams, etc. It all started with Logan Hall getting off the ball, sacrificing himself, and literally having about 1,000 pounds of humanity fall on top of him. Yeah. Okay. Because you've always heard the trench stuff, right? Low man wins in football. The Bucs got lower. Go back and look at the film. Yep. It's Will Golston, Greg Gaines. Will Golston, Greg Gaines, and Logan Hall all submarined the offensive line. Then you've got Vita Vea kind of like standing up and being that rock solid presence with Levante and Anthony Nelson. And Winfield coming to push, and KJ Britt jumps over the top, grabs Jalen Hurts, and pulls him down. I mean, well executed. The Eagles can't get their tush push working. It's your night. And again, tremendous job by Todd Bowles for deploying personnel. It's like he used everybody on defense. We saw Cam Gill. I mean, this was a total team win, as I've seen the Buccaneers have. That's a great point. Quite some time. It was a masterpiece by Todd Bowles, and pretty much the same thing by Dave Canales. It should have been better. It should have been a 500-yard night for the offense with Baker going over 400 if these guys can catch the ball. So now you look at Detroit, and it's going to be a rock'em sock'em game. I think the Bucs are playing with house money. I mean,
I agree.
Not that I'm saying they're going to lose or forgiving them if they do lose, but man, it just, you know what? They're underdogs. These guys,
and that is Baker's. We have a soundbite coming later. When I asked him about that, I'm like, dude, this is your career history. You've majored in underdog.
Yeah.
And as the leader of this team, the grit that he showed to play when the injuries that he had, and Todd Bowles told us this, that he was limping around the damn facility all week long, and he looked like week one Baker, man. He was a spry little cat.
Yeah.
And once I saw that spring in his step, I'm like, we're good to go. We're good to go.
I don't know if they're going to win or not up in Detroit, but here's what I do know. Detroit really tightened up in the second half.
Yeah, they did.
They tightened up because they felt the pressure of being that team to win that game.
Agreed.
And get that playoff win for the first time since 1991. Guess what? They did that. Mission accomplished. However, they have even more pressure on them this week, I think, because they've won 13 games this year. That's rarefied air in Detroit, right? 12 in the regular season, 1 in the postseason. Detroit is going to be the love child this week on ESPN and national media. It's Detroit. Can they be the team that knocks off the 49ers? If you're a Buccaneer fan, you're not going to hear anything about your team this week.
Nope.
Outside of
just
today,
the way we want it.
Yep, and that's fine. I'm just saying, I think the Eagles are going to feel some pressure, and if the Buccaneers can do the same thing and weather the storm in the first quarter, or better yet, take a lead, I really think they can have some success and maybe even pull off the upset in Detroit, because I don't think Detroit is invincible. They won that game by a very slight score, 24-23. And if Matthew Stafford had one more possession, maybe they get the field goal and win that game. So I think Detroit has a chance of playing really, really tight in this game. And unless they come out and get some momentum early and win the first quarter, go up 7-0, 10-0, 13-0, whatever.
Get the crowd in the game.
Yep. If Tampa Bay can do to them what they did to Philly, 10-0 lead, shock the world kind of thing, I think Detroit could really be in a bit of a no man's land.
Another thing I go back to that's interesting, I think there was a comment for Bowles earlier in the season when he was asked about all the young players playing, and I think he was like, every team that wins a Super Bowl has rookies on it that are playing parts of it. Right. And I looked last night, and I mean, obviously, Kalijah Kancey was great. Diaby's, doing his thing. Hody Malk was solid. Trey Palmer, we saw that play. Even Josh Hayes leads the league in special teams tackles. Payne Durham had a nice catch. I think there's one other guy I'm missing. Part of that rookie class, Izzy, and I think he's undrafted, obviously, but Izzy getting a chance to play.
He plays in special teams,
Right. And my point is there, I mean, you've seen all the Bucs draft classes throughout the years, and I think we talked about this too in the offseason, that the Bucs, the key to getting better, they needed to have one of those classes, kind of how they had in 2018, 2019, where they found multiple starters.
Home run draft.
And it feels like in year one, they have hit in a big way.
Well, you're right, and you're exactly right. But take it back one step further, Nick. The last 2 years, Jason Light in this Bucs front office has drafted 10 starters. 10. Jay Camarda, found his magic last night. I mean, you talk about field position. I mean, he gets the assist on the safety for Anthony Nelson, right? Jay Camarda, for whatever reason, the last couple weeks punted like crap. But, man, last night he was brilliant. He was back to that Pro Bowl caliber Camarda. That's a fourth-round starter right there, right? Cade Otton, huge night, fourth-round starter from last year. Rashad White. Logan Hall had a great tackle for loss and did his part, played certainly much better against the Eagles this game than he did in week 3. So it's like you can look at these last 2 draft classes, just the drafted players. And you mentioned Izzy, and he was undrafted free agent. Kayvon Merriweather's a promising young safety as well. 10 starters on a playoff team in 2 draft classes. I mean, you ask any general manager, just realistically speaking, how many starters do you want from a draft class? Or I should say, what's a realistic number? of starters. They're going to say 3. Like that's just it. And you hope that one of those guys is a Pro Bowler, typically your first rounder, right? You hope that the other 2 are quality starters. Then you get some depth pieces, special teams, developing players, whatever, right? In year 2, you've got tremendous depth and talent from last year's draft class. In year 1, you've got, as you mentioned, you rattled them off, tremendous talent from that draft class. I've yet to see a playoff team. Usually, and JP, you know this from being an old timer like myself. Usually, when you've got 10 starters from 2 back-to-back draft classes, you're a young, sucky team, right? That's like Raheem Morris stuff. Like we have to draft these guys
because you got nobody else.
Yeah. Exactly. But these guys are quality starters, and it sets up this team for the next run in the playoffs. Super Bowl, we'll see. They're going to need a couple more special pieces, like difference makers, like future Hall of Fame dudes, to get back to the Super Bowl. But hey, there's always a draft in April, right?
That's right.
And Jason Licht can do it again.
And by the way, here's the secret, the sauce to the whole damn thing. They got money because they fed the draft classes. Not only do they bring you good players, but they bring you salary cap
rookie
money
contracts.
because the rookie contracts. So
That's right.
now, all due respect to Robert Hainsey, we can go out and find an all-pro center like we did with Ryan Jensen. What a difference that would make on this team in terms of pass protection and running the game. And that would be almost my first, depending on what you do in the draft.
Even at linebacker, Scott, I mean, I don't think we're trying to find a Devin White replacement. I think it's on the roster.
Yeah, I think so.
KJ Britt. And I mean, I think he's earned that, at least the right to go into camp as the starter and compete.
You're right, and JJ Russell's no slouch either, right? I mean, and then you've got Servassier Dennis, who probably better suited for the Mo backer spot that Levante David plays rather than the Mike that Devin White and KJ Britt play. But he's another guy you throw in the mix as well, right? And so, yeah, I don't say they're set at inside linebacker, but if you had to go into 2024 with KJ Britt and JJ Russell and Servassier Dennis as your options at playing opposite a re-signed Levante David, sure, I'm taking that. I'm taking that all day long, and it's going to be an upgrade over what Devin White is in terms of just consistency, tackling, etc. So, no drama. So
no drama.
Yeah, I'm with you. And the other thing too, JP, is like you mentioned the center. Like Stinney's done a yeoman's job in there, but if you find another Alex Kappa, Cody Malk, Ali Marpet type, a plug-and-play guy there, I mean, all of a sudden it makes your offensive line better. You run the ball better. You have better pass protection. So that's what I'm saying is with more money, with another draft class, the continuity is king in the NFL.
That's right.
And Canales, I don't think wants to go anywhere. I think he wants to stay here like Ben Johnson did. He'll interview. He'll get the experience. But at the end of the day, he wants to finish what he started. I think he's going to stay here and continue to build his program on offense and put himself in better position, because we've seen this too many times. We've seen, and it's such a tempting proposition, right? There's only 32 NFL coaches out there, only 32 jobs. And when you have a chance to take one, it's so hard to pass it up and turn it down.
That's Byron Leftwich.
That's right. Right. But when you take it and you're not ready, it can devastate your career.
True.
And if you, I mean, unless you're Josh McDaniels, but then you get another shot at sucking. But that rarely happens though. And so if you don't go to the right situation, if you're not prepared for it, look at Raheem Morris, prime example, right?
Yeah,
Raheem
I was going to mention Raheem.
Ready to be a head coach at age 33. But you know what? At age 47 now, with all of the experience he has gained since then,
he's going to be good.
He's going to be a fantastic head coach the next time around, right? But because it takes that experience. And right now, Dave Canales, 1 year as a play caller, I don't know where he goes and has the wherewithal to try to be a play caller, because that's what he's getting hired for. You're the offensive play caller / head coach. To be the play caller and then to run an entire team of special teams and defense as well. I don't think he's ready for it. I think he will be in time.
Right.
think he's going to be a fantastic head coach, but get some seasoning as an offensive coordinator / play caller. Get really good at that job.
Yeah.
Before you go on and take on the head coaching job, because even as Mike McDaniels found out, and he said, "Hey, I'm not opposed to giving up the head coaching job." And I mean, he dropped a 70 burger on Denver this year.
Right.
But he realizes, like, wow, this is a lot.
It's a lot.
And calling plays, and he's like the wunderkind. So
if Canales goes to Carolina, we'll just get him back in a few months anyway.
True.
He'll be really rich when he comes back, so we won't even have to pay him. So
no doubt.
That's not a terrible scenario.
Yeah, and
we'll just keep the job open for you, Dave. We'll see you in a couple months.
I wouldn't be too concerned about losing Mike Greenberg either. I don't think he's
he's not going to that circus. Why would he? Why would he? Yeah, I think when we talk about this, I think those are both fact-finding missions for the Panthers to pick the brains of the Buccaneers. So, we'll see you there.
My biggest concern in Carolina would be Raheem Morris going there or Todd Monken going there, because I think those were the guys the Buccaneers were zeroing in on. If Todd Bowles crapped the bed last night and they wanted to go in a different direction.
Carolina.
Yeah, we're in Carolina. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but you know what? Hats off to Todd Bowles. Just a masterful job, masterpiece of a game, and he has earned that defensive mastermind title again. It was a hell of a show last night.
I think you share my thoughts of we as critical as we were rooting for Todd. We wanted him to succeed more than anything, and it was frustrating to watch the bad stuff. But the good stuff
sometimes you have to learn a lesson, and you have to take the L to learn that lesson. And sometimes,
no question,
going through 4-7 allows you to get through.
I can't play safe anymore. I can't do it. I got to let it rip. I got to let it rip.
And I can ask every player and coach and front office guy at one Buccaneer place, and they would lie to me and say that it wasn't. But in hindsight, losing to New Orleans the way they did was necessary. It was necessary for them to take that L.
Yeah.
Because I think that it became a little too easy for this Buccaneer team.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they lost some of their edge. And I think they thought they could show up and win just like they did in New Orleans.
Yep.
And it's like you have to continue to ramp up and elevate, and you have to dominate in the trenches. And that performance last night by the Bucs offensive line and their defensive line last night does not happen unless they get their butts absolutely kicked
100%
in the trenches by New Orleans just a couple weeks ago. A powerful learning lesson. From that loss.
There are lessons in losing. There's no question. If you're not learning lessons from losing, then you're not paying attention.
That's right.
They're very valuable lessons, and it forces change and necessary change at times. And that's exactly what happened.
The Eagles learned a very powerful lesson last night.
They did.
Losing really, really badly.
Yeah. I'm going to have to flush the rest of that Eagle when I get done with you. All right, partner. Thank you so much for joining us. Tell everybody what's coming up on Pewter Report this week as we head to Detroit for the divisional round.
It's a Victory Tuesday. Product placement here. If not for the Celsius, I would not be doing this show right now, nor would I be doing the show at 4 o'clock.
I need
because I'm dead ass tired. But today we will be having a Victory Tuesday episode of the Pewter Report podcast. Come join the fun at 4 o'clock live. Today at 4 o'clock, Wednesday and Thursday at 4 o'clock on Pewter Report TV. That's our YouTube channel. Almost 13,000 subscribers. Join the Pewter people. Check us out on YouTube, Pewter Report TV. Also, check out my latest 2-point conversion column where I sing Todd Bowles' praises, and I basically wrote everything I just said on the show here. You can read it if you missed part of the show. And it's on pewterreport.com, my 2-point conversion column, talking about Todd Bowles' masterpiece versus the Eagles, and all of our other great content. Most impressive, most disappointing, all your favorites on pewterreport.com. Make sure you follow us on social media at Pewter Report on Facebook, Instagram, and also on X.
Scott Reynolds, ladies and gentlemen. I'll give you the Pat McAfee clap. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you got it.
All right. We will take another break here. Come back on the other side. We will get to your comments. Got a lot of great comments, including Paul Stewart glossing his own mug. Yes, there it is. The Buck Power mug. Thank you. Perfect. So we will talk some more Buccaneers. We're brought to you by Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. A lot of you got the sniffles out there, right? You got sick. I got the bug. But all the supplements that Chris Lugo has me on and it gets my immune system boosted. I fought off the flu. It only took me about 12 hours, so I feel great. So go to Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Get your immunity system going again. He knows how to do it. He's got a great background in nutrition that will help you tremendously in supplements. Bay Area Modern Medical Center. If you're sick of getting sick all the time, BAMMC.com. Back in 3. Stay with us.
JP here for my good friends at Italiano Insurance, and they did it again. Once again, Italiano Insurance stepping up with the best customer service. I was in a bind. My old insurance company, my auto insurance, jacked up my rates, so I called Charity at Italiano Insurance, and she stayed till 9:30 at night until she got my insurance done. And guess what? She searched all these companies for me. I didn't do the work. She did. Saved me $1,000 on my annual premium. $1,000, folks. That's real money. And that's what you get at Italiano Insurance. Great customer service. And here's another note for you, by the way, with hurricane season up. 40% of people in Florida are underinsured. That means if you have something happen during a hurricane and you need replacement cost, you're going to get 40% less than you deserve. Can't let that happen. Call the folks at Italiano Insurance and get them to help you out in both those regards. They will save you money and keep you insured properly. That's 813-877-7799. Great folks in the community, been doing it for over 60 years. Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799.
Hey, it's a great time to buy a house and get a mortgage with American Mortgage Services. Okay, I got your attention now. But JP, rates are at 8%. That's true. But I spoke with our friend Scott Fitzgerald at AMS Tampa, and this is what smart people are doing. Rates peaked at 8% last month, but they've come down, and AMS recently locked some folks in the high 6s. Prices have also stabilized or dropped in some areas. So if you're going to eventually buy, now is the best time to get the house you want. Fitz will get you the best rate out there, shopping it around to dozens of lenders, and when rates come down in a year or so, and the frenzy begins again, prices go bananas again, you will already have the pick of the litter. Then he will refinance you and keep costs at nearly zero, because that's what they do at AMS Tampa. You're back at 4% in the house you wanted while others fight the frenzy. Be smart. Stay one step ahead. Email Fitz at scott@amstampa.com, scott@amstampa.com, or call 813-294-7595. Scott Fitzgerald, NMLS 386722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida. Tired of those stuffy, overpriced sports bars? Well, come join the fun at the Patio in South Tampa and watch your favorite football teams under the stars in a tropical paradise. It's a unique setting with huge wood decks beneath the trees, and don't worry, they have an inside AC bar with all your favorite bar games as well. The Patio has all the NFL and UFC sports packages. It's home to the Tampa Gator Club and the Bills Mafia, but all fans are welcome. Hey, my FSU buddies love to watch the Noles at the Patio. It's also home to a great happy hour weekdays. $5 White Claw vodka and $5 White Claw seltzers. $1 off all beer and wine from 3 to 7:30 off their already low prices. And every Friday happy hour, join us for Football Friday. It's our live broadcast from 5 to 7 o'clock with tons of specials. The fan mic for you to join the show. We'll have some swag and some ticket giveaways and more. So come out for the live broadcast 5 to 7 every Friday at the Patio, and come watch football in a tropical paradise. 421 South McDill, just a few blocks south of Kennedy. Everyone meets at the Patio.
Coming back at you. Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports. It's only just begun.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the great folks at Synovus Bank, the big bank with the local small-town bank feel. My good friend John Acosta over there, I've known him for over 40 years. He's been in local banking for over 40 years, and that's who they hire over at Synovus Bank. A lot of local folks here that have been in banking for a long, long time, that have great relationships with businesses in the area. So if you want to get with a bank that will really treat you like a friend and a neighbor, that's Synovus Bank. So go to synovus.com, go to one of the local places and say, I want to switch over to Synovus because I'm sick of my big corporate bank feeing me to death. And they'll give you that real local feel and make you feel at home. It's Synovus Bank, synovus.com. Go see the folks over there.
How about
All right,
Tampa?
Nikki.
I was going to say real quick, Tampa International Airport off the top rope this morning on the old X machine.
Oh, yeah?
Night. Yeah, we can confirm the fog in town this morning is from the cannons fired last night. Hashtag Go Bucs. And, of course, I love the Bucs social media team last night. They put up this nice aerial view of Raymond James Stadium last night, which the red lights are awesome. Red end zone's awesome, and the white flags.
Yes.
And they put bye, Eagles, bye.
Nice.
I love it.
The trolling is just fantastic. I actually walked in last night with the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, and I was like, oh, he's here tonight. I was surprised we didn't have Rondé doing something Eagle-ish. They, like they did for the trailer yesterday, the hype video with him in his bar. You saw that?
Great. That
was fantastic. We played it on the show yesterday. That was so well done. I was texting with him last night. I'm like, dude, you nailed that one. He should get an Emmy for that one, no doubt. Yeah, that was tremendous. Let's get to some of the comments, and because you guys are all over it this morning. Thank you so much for getting up with us and contributing to the show here. Our good friend Greg DeCruz, who came from Costa Rica, said, "I'm sitting Charlotte flight delayed." Of course it is. Wearing Buccaneer gear and feeling proud as a new papa. That's not a great feeling. When you go for a road game and you're traveling, you got your gear on. Everybody's like, nice win last night. Nice win. Thomas Casper, 2 wins from a Super Bowl. Unbelievable. And I got, I'll show it to you on my phone. I got a nice little bet that I put for the Bucs to win the NFC Championship. $25 will bring me $18.75. Yeah. I was like,
very rich
I
man.
already cashed on over 6 wins. Cashed on the NFC South, cashed on Godwin over 850 yards, cashed on Baker. Do you remember when at the beginning of the year when the Madden thing came out?
Yeah.
Remember that? When they predicted that the Bucs are going to the Super Bowl and Baker would throw for what, 4,038 in like 12, I think it was.
Yeah.
And everybody was laughing. And I was like, I think that could be close. I said, I'll give them the NFC South. I'll give them, give them 9-10 wins, and I think Baker's going to have a great year. We said it before the season.
It's just the way the season went. It's like you were losing faith in that, but they got it back on track. But
at times,
they're one of 4 teams in the NFC still standing, which is crazy to say.
It's unbelievable.
And look at the quarterbacks, by the way: Baker Mayfield, Brock Purdy, Jordan Love, and Jared Goff. All 4 of whom, during their careers and even this season, have taken their fair share of criticism. Those are the 4 quarterbacks left standing. And you contrast that to the AFC, where you have Mahomes, Josh Allen, CJ Stroud, and Lamar Jackson. It's like completely different. The conferences are completely flipped.
And by the way, and RJ Martin, what a comment here. I'm laughing this morning at all those that wanted to tank the season for a draft pick this year. Remember that?
I feel silly even when we were at 4. Well, I shouldn't say I feel silly, because I thought that's where they were heading when they were 4-7, and we were kind of on that.
I said the season's over unless unqualified, unless Todd Bowles is going to coach aggressively and sit people down that need to be sat down. Ryan Neal, Devin White, make Matt Filer make the changes that need to be made. Play the way you should be playing. This team is going nowhere. And to his credit, he turned it around. He made those changes. Yaya Diaby started playing more. Aaron Stinney took over, right? Ryan Neal was gone. Delaney jumped in. So he took a little bit longer for Devin White to get out of there. But he took, don't forget, Devin missed a few games because of injury, and that helped us. So if not by injury, and I think it was interesting what Scott said, maybe it wasn't Todd's decision to take Devin out. Maybe somebody made him do it.
I don't even care at this point.
Who cares? Exactly. Who cares? Jeremy Lowe, first victory alive. Yeah. We had a lot of comments on the crowd last night. Buccaneers Basement, who chatted with us on the postgame show last night. I was there live. It was phenomenal atmosphere. Bucs fans showed out. Also, I love our chances against the Lions. Just make sure Ryan Neal isn't on the field all the time. The Lions picked on him badly. Yeah, the personnel changes that needed to be made have been made. But the crowd was a huge part of it last night. You guys were amazing. I doubted you.
Tampa proved that when they want to be a serious sports city, and that's not a shot or anything. I just think that's been realistic. You want to be a serious sports city, you do what you did last night. as a fan base, and you did it on national TV for everybody to see.
Yeah, and contrast that to what the baseball team did, and what the baseball fans did. And again, we're not as mad at the fans because your owner doesn't give you any reason to go. The Bucs do. The Bucs have done everything right from an ownership standpoint. Everything. So they deserve your money. They deserve your loyalty. The Rays don't. So I don't really care. Zion playing safety was awesome. Yeah, it's another great change that Bowles has done. Scott Valdez, every national morning show focusing on Eagles' failures instead of our success. SMA. Yeah, I mean,
when the Bucs
doesn't that suck? Doesn't that suck?
You want to know why it is? Because everybody in the national media told you at the beginning of the year that the Bucs were going to win 4 football games.
That's right.
They were laughing at the Bucs for signing Baker Mayfield.
Yep.
And they were going to be picking for a quarterback. They set that in stone, and this is what they do. When it doesn't go according to plan, they act like, whoa, we don't know how to react to this. So they're doing it with the Cowboys and the Packers. Nobody expects the Packers to be in that position. And the Packers and Bucs are honestly on like the same parallel right now when it comes to young players succeeding right away. No,
that is a great point. And we see it not only in sports, but in politics and everything else. Once you commit to something, you don't want to be wrong, even in the face of overwhelming data. And the overwhelming data is Baker Mayfield's a good quarterback.
Yeah, and the overwhelming data told me in the second half of the season, the Eagles are a bad football team.
Yeah, they are.
They got worked by almost every team they played in the second half
Giants,
of the season.
Twice. Yeah.
Right, and they barely could put away the Commanders, who every other team blew out throughout the season.
Yeah, that's sad. And hopefully as the week goes on, the Bucs will get some respect, and I think Baker will be a big story, and he deserves it.
How about this from TJC22? This is so true. Baker has more playoff wins than Dak Prescott. How about that?
That's true. Dak has one, right?
Yeah, and
that beating us last year.
And I think he just put this as Baker's numbers in the postseason. It's pretty damn good.
2-1, right? Yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, so he beat. Who did he beat the first time? The Ravens.
I know it was in 2020, obviously. And then they lost to the Chiefs.
Yeah, and then they lost to the Chiefs.
And more playoff wins than Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. Wow. How the narrative changes, right? How the narrative changes. And talking about Baker, and if you have those clips, I don't know if you were able to download those clips, Nick, because I asked him a couple questions last night that I thought were interesting, or we could just play his press conference as well. He is just such a perfect fit, and we've talked about this narrative, from the very beginning of the season. I talked about this in preseason camp. I love it when your quarterback matches your team's identity and your city's identity. I think that's, kind of Nick Foles, the underdog with Philadelphia. There's Tom Brady, kind of matched that New England, as much as we'd hate to say it, but that working class New England, Boston feeling, that was, the underdog guy, the 6th round pick. When that matches, it feels right. It kind of everything meshes together. This team's identity, and we talked to them about this a few weeks ago. This team's identity, Tristan Wirth said it. We're a scrappy bunch. We're a bunch of young, scrappy dogs, and we're just going to keep coming at you. We're just going to keep coming at you, and that's Baker. I mean, that is Baker personified. His entire persona is what this Bucs identity is all about, and they follow him, and it just works. That jam just works.
And here's the we'll play the one of the questions you asked him last night here about being the underdog here.
Said you guys are embraced this underdog.
Crank that volume if you can.
I mean, obviously you've kind of majored in that in your career. Do you just thrive in this position? Do you just love it?
Yeah. There's something about whether you're an underdog or a road game, just having your backs against the wall and knowing it's just your team versus everybody else when you're counted out. And it's always fun to be in that role. Obviously, I'm pretty comfortable in it, but our team has completely embraced that throughout the year.
Yeah, and he said, obviously, I'm pretty comfortable in that, and our team has embraced that. And Todd kind of, unprompted, kind of said that last night. Like, we love being the underdog. We love being in this position. We love being counted out. That's who Baker is. That's who the Bucs have been this year. It's a great story. I don't think the NFL storyline writers saw this one coming, to be quite honest.
Right. And I don't like, and this is the one thing that just frustrates me about the world in general. Like, we used to embrace the underdog story, and I feel like nowadays, like, we'll embrace it to an extent, but in the back of everybody's mind, we're like waiting for it to crumble.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like we're always waiting for the downfall, and I feel like people do that with, like, Brock Purdy, for example. Like, when he had his 3-game stretch where he wasn't good, everybody turned on Brock Purdy and was like, see, I told you so. I told you so, he's not good. And it's like, why are we doing this? Like, what he's already done is, like, incredible. And what the Bucs have done with everything they've been up against, and Baker Mayfield, they showed the graphic last night, 8 head coaches this guy has had to play for. 8. And I scanned across, and I'm like, Hugh Jackson, Freddie Kitchens. I mean, Matt Rule. Like, these are some of the worst NFL head coaches in the history of the National Football League this guy has had to play for. And I really think that short little stint in L.A. last year with McVay, I think helped a lot for him.
Yeah, and he was relatively successful. If you go, and I went back and looked at that stint when they signed him. As the first thing I did, I didn't look at any Carolina stuff because that was a dumpster fire. Yeah. He wasn't even practicing red zone. Matt Rule, they didn't know what the hell he was doing. So I went and looked at and I said, I want to see Baker with McVay. Like, a first game, he leads 2 long touchdown drives to win a football game. There was another game where he threw for like 400 yards and 40 points. I mean, in a very short time, he took advantage. He wasn't perfect. That's not what I'm saying. But with an offensive line that was straight garbage, by the way, the Rams were a mess last year. So for him to come in and do what he did, I thought was really impressive. And you could see the skills there. You could see the toughness. You could see the leadership. And that's why, after he interviewed here, and I was like, wow, I think this guy's got a chance to do something here because he's got the best duo of wide receivers he's ever worked with, and he's had some good ones. But I thought we had a chance to have a pretty, not a great running game, but a little bit of something with Rashad.
Well, look at how good he was last night, and even TJC put his numbers in the fourth quarter last night: 6 for 6, 78, and a touchdown, perfect passer rating in the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
which is where you obviously want to play your best. But Mike Evans was a non-factor yesterday.
He was.
Chris Godwin up until the touchdown in garbage time was a non-factor.
And that's huge.
I mean, K-Dot and Trey Palmer, they had like 9 different guys that got involved. Payne Durham got involved. Like, I mean, that Chase Edmonds shows you right there. Chase Edmonds got some as well. Yeah.
Now, this makes the Bucs so much more dangerous too. And then there's this. Here's the freak scenario. Bucs beat the Lions, which is not a freak. I'm telling you, I'm picking the Bucs this week. I'm picking the Bucs for many reasons.
Environment for sure.
Yep. Lions, could you just hear what Baker said? They love it. They love going on the road. They love being the underdog.
They played better on the road most of the season.
Yeah. Bucs beat the Lions, Pack shocks the world and beats the Niners. And the way Jordan Love played, stranger things have happened. We'll Bucs Lions in the NFC Championship game at Ray J. Bucs Packers, yeah.
And it'd be the NFC Central takeover in the NFC Championship game.
How about
that? Would be crazy. And how about this? The Bucs beat the Eagles, and now they play the Lions. And then let's just say it's the 49ers that beat the
revenge
Packers.
tour.
Yeah, and then in the Super Bowl, who knows? Maybe it's the Bills or something. Like, it would be like the craziest story if they go on this epic revenge tour and avenge every loss they had in the season to all these good teams.
Well, and look at the brilliance of what Todd Bowles did. He completely scrapped the original game plan, good reason, but also built off of it. Built off it and said, here, we're gonna look at what Wink Martindale did. We're gonna look at everybody did instead of playing to our weaknesses and trying to outsmart them and they won't see this coming. It's more of this is what we do well. So let's just put it on steroids and play uber aggressive. And boy, did it work. If we're back at Ray J in a couple of weeks, man, that would be something. TJC, probably my favorite thing about it is watching Browns fans and the guys who the organization used to spread false narratives about Baker tweet through it this morning. I told him, I said, I want to see some of those tweets, see who they were. Because, so many people, including this jackwagon, Colin Cowherd trashed Baker all year. Today he has to eat his words, but like ESPN, they will give Bucs and Bowles zero credit and focus on the Eagles meltdown. Yep, that's how he does it. Yeah, he's always been an anti-Baker guy, and
I went back last night. I was up till like 2 a.m. taken in this game, and I watched the entire interview that Baker Mayfield gave Colin Cowherd on his show when he got drafted. And I just wanted to watch it. And it was just looking at it now in hindsight, it's crazy the things that like Cowherd was like saying and like, like basically like saying like, yeah, you're not Johnny Manziel. You're not that. But like, you're a little bit better than him, but like, you're not Johnny Manziel. No. Like we were having those discussions then.
He was trying to placate him a little bit, and
right. And he said he was undraftable, and Baker, in typical fashion showed up to that interview wearing a sweatshirt that said undraftable on it. And it was like just typical Baker Mayfield fashion, but he got the last laugh. Yeah.
Baker. And listen, the job's not done. The job is not done, and he knows that.
It's not done, but I think we would both agree, like, even if the Bucs go out next week and they lose that game to the Lions, and listen, they're 6.5-point favorites for what that's worth for all you bettors out there. I mean, even if they lose the game, right, even if they lose the game, and let's just say it's similar to how the Rams game went down, and I think that's entirely plausible if the Bucs continue to play aggressive. I mean, I won't come back on Monday and be like, man, the Bucs. I'm not going to do that, because as far as I'm concerned, winning a playoff game, and especially in the fashion that they just did it, showing that the Eagles didn't even belong on the field, I think it's already made the season to an extent. And you're just, like you said, house money is what you're playing with now.
No, listen, Baker Mayfield's numbers are off the charts compared to what most people thought would happen. But very close to what Madden thought would happen. That's just bizarre to me. These video games are a little bit more accurate than we would like to say. But I did think he would have a good year. But it was hard. I mean, you look at his numbers and you're like, really?
It was a fight to get to that.
Yeah, but because there was some bad stuff in there, really bad stuff. Yeah. And it was mostly when he was injured, to be honest with you. We've talked about that. We've documented that. But also you got to understand he's in a new system with new receivers. You're going to have many, many, many throws where you think he's going there and he's not going there. And it's just a difference of a yard in a route being run, but it's a difference in a completion, in interception, or a completed pass. That's how, small the detail is in the NFL. So and this is going to get better. So it asks the question, Nick, I was like, yeah, I think, you bring Baker back. But I said after the Jaguars game, no, we don't need to sign anybody now. But I did say, if I'm Jason Light, I'm getting the bargain. I would have put a contract on his agent's desk after the Jaguars game, because after last night, yesterday's price is not today's price. Today's price is different.
Well, no, but it's still going to be. But still, though, relatively to what quarterbacks get paid in the NFL, starting quarterbacks, I think he's still going to come at a pretty good bargain, all things considered. The number's going to say, like, oh, that's crazy. But, like, it's really not going to be, I don't think.
Why? Why should he not get paid as much as Dak Prescott?
This is not going to happen. You think you pretty much.
Yes, I do know the answer to that. No, it is about timing, and it is about where you need to be. And here's the other thing. I think Baker Mayfield is smart enough to know that this can be his forever home. And as I said, this city matches his demeanor. This is still very much a blue-collar city. This is not Miami. This is not L.A. And I think Baker feels very comfortable in this city. There's no question about it. He's out and about.
And you can win in Tampa. And you can win in Tampa Bay. And I can't believe I'm saying those words, because for a while, like, if you're a free agent, why would you want to come to Tampa Bay? You had to overpay to get free agents that some of them after a year, it was like, oh, this is horrendous. We're moving off of them. Like, you don't have to do that anymore. I don't think. You can actually win, and Jason Licht has proven that he will make every decision possible to try to make a championship-winning football team.
Well, that's why this run is so important post-Brady, because, everybody had the mindset of, the jackass in New Orleans, Cam Jordan, the Bucs will be back to being the Bucs, and such a great troll by Jason Licht. That's right. We're back to being the Bucs, still division champions post Tom Brady. And so you carry on that winning mentality. And again, if you're Baker Mayfield, you've been in instability. You've been in Cleveland, you've been in Carolina, and you're like, please get me out of here. Right. And he looks at the Bucs and like, wow, talk about stability in ownership, stability at the GM position, stability on the team with Mike Evans and Levante David and a core here of guys that that know how to win, that have a Super Bowl championship pedigree. It's not do they? It's yes, they did, and so that all works. And I think it just, you look at Tampa Bay in a different light now, as it wasn't just the post. It just wasn't Tom Brady. Like, there's some substance here, and if you're Baker Mayfield, you're like, listen, I want to hunker down here. I want to have my kids here. I want to be, I want to become a hero here in Tampa Bay. And now he's got an opportunity to do that. Now, what's going to help you to do that? A $60 million a year deal or a $35 million a year deal? Is $35 million enough? Should I take a little bit of a discount right now when, maybe I'm not, quote, Dak Prescott. I'm not Patrick Mahomes. I'm not Daniel Jones. How the hell he got $40 million? We're still
one. Some of these other contracts give Baker a lot of leverage to play with.
Exactly. I know. And so if you're his agent, you're like, hey, this guy's just should be the comeback player of the year. What's going on? I mean, pay the man. But I think, as I said, I think Baker's smart enough to not go for the throat. And if his agent is going to do that, he should fire his agent and say, no, I want to leave some money on the table here to bring Mike Evans back. So, and that's the difference. Think about this, folks. If he demands 60, all right, instead of 35, all right, or 50 instead of 35, that 15 million, that's Mike Evans. You think he would like to have Mike Evans back? Hell yeah. Not saying
the Bucs would be a worse football team without him, and Baker would be a worse quarterback.
Absolutely. He'd be crazy. And so that in and of itself right there, like, I want to leave money on the table to make sure we get Mike Evans. So whatever that is, pay me, pay him. And you know what? Jason Light will make that public, right? Or at least he should.
Right.
Because, Baker's not going to say it at the microphone, but someone else should. And say, hey, yeah, we got the deal done with Baker, and we talked with him, and he said, I want to make sure there's money left on the table to take care of my teammates. Now, the NFLPA will lose their mind about that, but I don't think he cares about that. I think he cares about his team and loyalty and all the good things, teamwork, that we don't even talk about anymore, that are dirty words. And to Baker Mayfield, they're not. And that's leadership. And Tom Brady did the same damn thing. And why more quarterbacks don't do it, I don't know. It's just dumb. It's dumb. You want to take all the pie, you're being a moron. No question about it.
Well, yeah, and even if you look at, like, we've had this discussion before, like, just in general speaking, like, of all the players who make, like, the most money, like, per, like, which one of them have actually won Super Bowls? It literally, like, stops and ends with Patrick Mahomes. I haven't seen Lamar Jackson win a Super Bowl yet. I haven't seen Josh Allen do it yet. They haven't happened. Mahomes has been the outlier, and Mahomes is not even, like, close to being the highest paid player in the league at the moment. So, like, there's really no incentive to, like, cash out and be like Dak Prescott, who's owed like $60 million next year, or that's going to ruin your team.
All right, let's take a quick break. TJ Reeves is going to join us on the other side. We'll get to Bill Belichick in Atlanta. Some coaching carousel news this morning that we got to get to, and some retirements. Looks like the Bucs sent Jason Kelce into retirement. Didn't go out very well. So we'll talk about that. We are brought to you by the great folks at the Patio. If you're going to go watch some games this weekend, you want to watch the Bucs game on Sunday at 3:00, the Patio is the place to be. Always great drink specials, always low prices, not like those big stuffy sports bars. No, it's the Patio. Great outdoor feel, nice indoor feel, and a great staff there as well. So go check them out. The Patio, 421 South McDill. Great sports bar to watch all the different sports. They've got all the different packages, so check them out. Tell them JP sent you. Back in 3, TJ Reeves is going to join us. Stay with us. JP here from my friends at your local Synovus Bank, and I do mean friends, and I do mean local. One of the local managers in Tampa is John Acosta, big fan of the show, and I've known him for over 40 years. He's been in local banking since 1983. You talk about developing relationships. You don't stick around for that long unless you're doing things the right way and have a great reputation, and that's the focus company-wide at Synovus. Big enough to handle any complex international transaction, but small enough to answer the phone when you have an urgent question about your business or personal account. And for personal accounts, they have a very easy app that works great. You can do everything online. And for large or small businesses, you will get that personal touch and services to help build your business, taking your dreams and aspirations from the whiteboard to reality.
We can make that happen. Let us show you how. For a Get Acquainted meeting to open a business or personal account, just call John or go to synovus.com to find out where your local branch is. JP here for the Geddes Gordon Real Estate Group and our good friend Jane Geddes. Folks, simply put, there is nobody like Jane. Jane is a former LPGA two-time major championship winner. She was also vice president of talent relations at WWE. She also has a law degree from Stetson. So if Jane can drain a 10-footer to win the U.S. Open and stare down Hulk Hogan in the boardroom, you want Jane on your real estate team to not only negotiate the best deal, but find you the perfect home or investment property. And when you work with the Geddes Gordon Group, you become part of the real estate family and get concierge services that include expertly staging, marketing, and preparing your home for sale. Advice on golf properties. Hey, you might even get some golf tips. Many of their clients become friends long after the sale or purchase is completed. It's all part of the deal. So if you're looking for that perfect home or investment property or trying to get top dollar for your home, go with Jane Geddes and the Geddes Gordon Group because there's nobody like Jane. Call 813-485-6808 or go to geddesgordon.kw.com. That's GEDDES Gordon.kw.com or call 813-485-6808. Start the new year with a new diamond from the Gold and Diamond Source. It's still engagement season. Where better to get that special ring than the Gold and Diamond Source? Of course, I just got mine there. I'm engaged. You should do the same thing. Let's go. Gold and Diamond Source has the largest selection of engagement rings in the country. A literal jewelry superstore with 30 times the inventory of any normal jeweler. And if you have a loved one or a special person in your life who has a birthday this month, maybe you have an anniversary coming up, you can get 15% off the January birthstone, which is garnet. As in garnet and gold for all your Seminoles. Celebrate that mythical national championship. And it's the Gold and Diamond Source's 40th anniversary. For the past 40 years, they have taken pride in offering only natural diamonds formed over billions of years from the Earth's incredible forces. And gold prices are at an all-time high. Now's your chance to turn your jewelry box into a cash machine. It's the perfect time to trade in your broken or unworn pieces for something new and stunning. It's the Gold and Diamond Source, 3800 Ulmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com.
Let's go. Right now, back to the show with JP.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the great folks at American Mortgage Services. Saw my man Scott Fitzgerald yesterday. He and Johnny Telfer from Jesuit High School, linebackers coach, went to the game, and they were in full throat. And part of that great Buccaneers crew that freaking got it done last night. The crowd was every bit a part of it. And that was fantastic, absolutely fantastic in every way. So American Mortgage Services, if you need a loan, go with Scotty Fitz, my man. The rates are coming down, and we told you this, folks. Smart people right now are getting back in the real estate market. Go ahead and pay. Will they come down into the fours again? They might. You can refinance later on, but guess what? When they get back into the fours and the threes, the frenzy is going to go bananas and the prices are going to go through the roof. So you're not saving any money because you're paying 30, 40, 50 grand more than you would. Get in now, get your mortgage done now with Scott Fitzgerald, Scott at AMS Tampa. Use the Geddes Gordon Group. If you need a real estate agency, go call Jane. She knows exactly what she's doing. She will find you those properties. They'll work their butts off for you. So put that team together, Scott Fitzgerald, Jane Geddes, and get back into the real estate game before prices go bananas. That's what the smart people are doing. So do it now. GeddesGordon.com and Scott at AMSTampa.com. So we need to get Jane back on the show, man. The golf season's heating up. Let's start talking some golf as well.
I know. The Masters commercials are already out and about.
I know.
I love it.
Georgia. I love it. Hey, Coward, I love. Let's just dump on Coward as much as we can. Coward said Baker can hide in Tampa. How stupid is that guy? He's a moron. He's a moron and he's a sellout. God, some people just make it boil. And I used to be such a big fan of his. Such a big fan. Well, what a freaking sellout. Him and McAfee just serve each other. Final four NFC QBs left totally blows Coward's quarterback theory away. The guy forgets football is a team sport. Absolutely. And Jordan Love and CJ Stroud, what they did this weekend, incredible. Speaking of quarterbacks, and somebody who really doesn't know much about quarterbacks, he was the greatest coach of all time. Think about that quandary. Bill Belichick.
in Atlanta. And I said this last week. I said Arthur Blank covets Bill Belichick. Everybody's got Belichick going to the Cowboys. That's not a good fit because if Belichick was going to give up power, he'd have stayed in New England, right? Because that's what Robert Kraft wanted. They wanted to let.
I don't think anymore. I think that's part of the reason why he's not there anymore.
Right. So, and Jerry Jones does not want anybody outshining him or running the show. That's why he always hires puppets, right? Jason Garrett for 12 years, 10 years, whatever the hell that was. Right. Wade Phillips, Barry Switzer. Yeah, he's going to hire puppets. Bill Belichick ain't nobody's puppet, and he's not going to be.
I don't like any fit for Bill Belichick.
I don't either.
I just don't.
Well, here's the thing. Arthur Blank is a very powerful man with a lot of money. He's 80-some years old.
Right.
He grew up worshiping Bill Belichick and still thinks the guy can coach. And for him, he just has not been able to find the right guy. And I know Arthur a little bit. I worked for him for 2 years. And Arthur is really big on guys that, he's always wanted a legacy coach, and he's not been able to get one. So this is a moment for him, and he will love the spotlight of Belichick chasing Schuler's record. The Falcons have been so irrelevant nationally, and he hates that. He wants to be back in the spotlight, and Belichick brings him a little bit of that spotlight. But it's not. It's gonna.
Okay, cool. But the name of the game is to win.
I know.
And Bill Belichick hasn't done a lot of winning lately. And
I agree with
like
you.
Atlanta, I could see a scenario where Atlanta just gives him the keys to the whole entire ship as the GM again. And if you haven't noticed, Bill Belichick hasn't drafted a Pro Bowler on offense in over a decade.
That's right.
Okay, and the game is skewing offense. I mean, the Browns, by the way, are a great example. Browns were like the number 2 defense in the league, built defensively. What happened against C.J. Stroud?
Thud.
Right. Exactly.
Bud.
Every team that's like built defensively and everything, you get to the playoffs and do they usually win? Do they win the big game? No. Not as much.
Oh, the Bucs did.
And I say that as the Bucs. I say that as the Bucs just did that. So I guess anything can happen at the end of the day. But still, like I just don't. The Falcons already can play a little bit of defense. You know what they struggle at? They struggle at playing offense, and they struggle at getting the quarterback correct. And you think Bill Belichick's that guy? Based on what? And he's 72 years old.
I didn't say he'd be successful, but I said that's where he's going.
Right. He's going to be 72 years old, 2 years old. I mean, at some point, I don't see it. I just don't see
And they don't
much
have a quarterback
success
in Atlanta. They don't have one.
You still got to find that guy.
So you're going to leave it up to Bill Belichick to go find your quarterback? I'm not saying it's going to be successful. Now, listen, if they were able to somehow get Justin Fields, would Belichick, have the wherewithal to be able to coach him up? Because I think the kid's got talent. Obviously he's an Atlanta guy, Justin. So it's that would be a perfect marriage.
But what if Belichick does the most Belichick thing and he gets the head coaching job? Because it's going to be about who's the OC realistically. And what if he just says, you know what, I'm bringing Josh McDaniels with me? I mean, we got enough other guys that are more current with the league, and I just can see that happening. And listen, if you're a Bucs fan, that's not the worst option because I think that keeps the Falcons kind of in purgatory.
I agree.
But I just don't think it's smart.
James says Aikman was very complimentary of the Bucs and Baker last night. I watched about the first quarter and a half of the TV copy. I'll finish it up today. But, I heard that and him talking about the dead salary cap too. Lonnie Wilkins chiming in. Good morning, Lonnie. By the way, God, I missed Joe Buck on the call. It just sounds like the primetime football with Buck. I miss him doing the World Series. Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't know. I've never been a huge Joe Buck fan, but some of the guys that they replace him
to me when he's calling it.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, the Belichick thing. I think it would be funny. I'm here for it.
I just feel like if there's an actual defensive coach out there that I'd be falling over for, it's probably Vrabel, not Belichick.
Yeah, I would. I love Mike Vrabel.
I think Vrabel should still have a job.
I don't want to see Vrabel in Atlanta. I think he would do a really good job there.
He would.
RJ Martin just tagged you guys on Twitter in a video of an Eagles fan meltdown after the game. Ooh, I want to see that. I want to see that. TJC Coward was fantastic for years, then sold out for the corporate dollar. I know he's changed so much when he moved to LA. It's just can't stand phonies like that. He says he doesn't do his own research anymore. You can tell. Yeah. He's got other businesses. He's got bigger fish to fry.
I'm hesitant to even bring this comment up right now because
go ahead.
I could see you going on a tangent here. But Lonnie says, "Hey JP, if you need a day out, Rays Fan Fest is February 17th." I just got the email about that.
Let's see. Let me give you the top 10 things I would rather do than go to Rays Fan Fest. Have Tally scratch my other cornea would be on that list. I could go on, but I won't. No, it would show up and we'll get all excited about who's that backup catcher they just signed? Rob Brantley, Scott Brantley, some Brantley, some backup catcher. Woo! We got a Japanese pitcher.
Hey, he was coveted by other teams. He came to the Rays he took a
he
minor league deal to come to the Rays.
I know. He got a minor league deal. He must be great. No, actually, I think he'll do really well with the Rays, that pitcher. But again, can he hit? No.
I don't even want to go down this. See, I'm regretting already putting the comment up. We're supposed to keep the good vibes on the Bucs.
When's Juan Soto showing up?
We're supposed to put the good vibes on the Bucs for winning the playoff game. We could get to you could talk about the Rays when spring training comes around.
Who's this guy? Okie Wiley Striper Fishing. What's up, brother? Thanks for joining us. Baker has more playoff wins than the Browns. It's true. In that whole thing when they got rid of him, and look where they are now with your boy Watson. That's really good.
Joe Flacco, who's probably going to win the comeback player of the year, and it's a shame they vote on this before the playoffs because
who is?
Flacco's probably going to win comeback player of the year, and it's a shame they vote
over
on this
Baker.
They vote on this before the playoffs, and it would just be so weird to see Flacco win that award at this point after how he played against Houston.
TJC says 2 seconds and a late day third for Fields to Atlanta.
Yeah, that's probably the price.
They should do it. I mean, they'd be stupid not to.
Although they have the 8th pick.
I was going to ask you where
they're probably, if they wanted to go, it depends how people feel about Penix after the Michigan game.
Yeah.
But if you're still on him and everything and he tests out well and all that kind of stuff, I mean, hell. But I feel like if Bill Belichick is taking over, like how long is he going to be there? You probably want to get somebody that's a little bit more ready-made at this point.
He said, TJC said if Dobb gets the GM spot in Vegas, that means Harbaugh is going there. Harbaugh's in San Diego right now. Otherwise, it's Pierce, and Pierce is going to hire Cliff Kingsbury, and they're also looking at Fields. Love Antonio Pierce has done a great job.
Can the Raiders mess this up? They're going to mess it up, aren't they? Will. They're going to mess it up.
Yeah, they will.
They're going to lose the locker room because of it.
Now, Tom, welcome in, Tom. I haven't seen you up before. Joe Buck is like the worst NFL announcer ever. Very boring and monotone. He should stick to MLB or gone. I agree. I like my announcers to add emotion to the game. I don't think he does a great job with that. He's very understated.
Compare that to the NBC broadcast. Like, isn't it funny? We had to pay to watch the game on Peacock, and then they handed us, Jason Garrett on top of that. And the NBC crew adds absolutely nothing. Nothing.
Jason Garrett is nice dude, but man, he's milk toast. All right, you guys don't even know what milk toast is, do you?
No.
It's like this dry toasted crackers that comes in a box, and my mom used to eat them. It's awful. All right, our good friend TJ Reeves, Bucs sideline guy, joins us on a Victory Tuesday, my man. It's not Taco Tuesday, it's Victory Tuesday. You were down there on the field, brother. We were talking after the game, and that crowd was freaking electric and a huge part of that win last night. Would you agree?
I absolutely agree. It was anything but milk toast on your segue.
That's right.
There
you go.
Buccaneers last night.
I don't know what's up with your mic. Your mic's not on, or I think you're coming through your computer.
Right, well, we'll try it.
I can hear you. I can hear you. It's just not your rich baritone voice.
I'll try again with the audio. Let's try that way and
there we go. There's the rich baritone voice. Yes.
That was electric down there last night.
at field level. I don't know how well it came across on TV. I know you were up high in the box. That place was shaking at times with the battle flags. What a night. What a night. And one of the things I keep coming back to is don't let history revisionism go on here, because so many people counted this team out. Yeah, I understand, with 6 losses in 7 games. And then the Bucs began to win games at the end of the year, and you're going, well, who are they beating? And they're not going to do anything in the postseason. Well, now they get in the postseason, they win a game, and you're going to knock that too and say, well, it's the Eagles, and everybody would have beaten the Eagles. Guess what? The Bucs had one opponent, that was Philadelphia, and they earned getting to play that opponent by winning in Carolina and getting a home game, and they took care of it. Again, there are an awful lot of people that have been wrong the entire way. I'm not talking to you two. There are an awful lot of people that have been wrong the entire way about the Buccaneers, go Bucs, and we're happy that they're still wrong after a playoff victory, my friend, last night.
No, we picked them to win the NFC South and win 9 games. Now, on 4-7, I was very down, and I said, unless they start coaching this team up the right way and be aggressive and stay aggressive and make necessary changes in personnel, they're not going anywhere. Well, they've made some necessary changes in personnel, and the way they coached last night was completely different than what we saw against the Saints and the Panthers. And that was a masterful job by Todd Bowles.
Is aggressive.
Yes.
They were aggressive because they saw the tape of what Arizona did, especially in the second half, and what the Giants did, bringing blitzers from every which direction, which we talked about leading up to this game, and they went and did it last night. And another important factor, these are subtle little things. Kalijah Kancey didn't play in the first game because of the calf injury with Philadelphia in September. Yaya Diaby wasn't playing that much.
That's right.
They are a different defensive line second half of this season, and that playoff game last night with those guys playing a bunch, it does make a difference. You used KJ Britt a lot in that game early last night, and he may not be spectacular at all times, although on the brotherly shove, he was good enough on the up and over, but he's in position and he's fundamentally making plays to help the overall defense. And this time of year, it can maybe come down to a single guy being out of position in a key moment in the playoffs. So you're going with who you have. And I think it says a lot for this football team. You know, feel great for a lot of guys. Feel great for Baker Mayfield. You've been talking about this today. Cast off by the Cleveland Browns. Cast off by Carolina. Not good enough to play for god-awful Carolina. And had to sign basically a bargain contract, a prove-it contract here. And look at him delivering last night. JP, we were talking on the field. Let's bring it back up here. Probably could have had a 400-yard pass game, was being victimized by drop balls, but he hung in there mentally. They stayed with it. It's a team concept. Keep making plays. That says a lot for Mayfield and his leadership, boys. And Nick, I know you know that too.
And I'm curious because you spend a good amount of time in the locker room, especially after games. I mean, we just talked about it. 4-7, we were starting to kind of get a little concerned that, okay, 8, 9, 10 wins is not realistic. And they go on that run that I'm not sure many people saw coming. But just being in the locker room, we've seen a lot of Bucs teams over the years. I'm sure you've seen it, where things are going bad. And it just feels like it's deflating. And sometimes it feels like you could give up on the season. But they never really did. What did you notice inside the locker room throughout that losing streak and the difference they made throughout the rest of the year?
You see in my symbol here, if you're only hearing us on the podcast, I'm making the unity with the fist. They're together. Mm-hmm. They are tight as a team, and that's veteran leadership. JP, we kept talking about that. You got so many guys that won the Super Bowl between Evans and Godwin and Levante David and Shaq Barrett and Vita Vea, stop me, Antoine Winfield, Tristan Wirfs, Carlton Davis, Jamel Dean, all won a Super Bowl. All came back the following year with Tom Brady and won 13 games and won a playoff game. They are together. They're bringing the young guys along, and I think that's a big deal right now for this team. Look, again, you're almost playing with house money right now. Nobody thinks you're going to go to Detroit and win, but this is another revenge situation for them, and this is a dangerous team. JP, I sat here with you over and over again and said, just get me in the tournament. Yep. Look what can happen in the tournament. And you're in the tournament, and you're one of 8 teams left playing football right now.
TJ, take us into the locker room last night. By the time I got in there, it was a ghost town. I think somebody had a party last night. I'm not sure who, but somebody had a party that they were all ready because
there were some guys bolting. Yes, that is correct.
They cleared
So what
out
was
quickly.
interesting is they spent very little time on the post game. Todd Bowles' post game talk to the team was not long. I know he's a little under the weather, and they're trying to get ready to go play Detroit. And then they kept the locker room closed a little longer as well while they were celebrating. Ownership was in there. ESPN was in there. NFL Films was in there. So you had that going. I talked to Baker. I talked to Chris Godwin and Levante David, right away on Buccaneers radio. And one of the things I like, Godwin had the serious tone. Levante David, like unfinished business. This is fine that we won this tonight, but we're about going to win in Detroit. We got goals right now to go and win. So that struck me. And again, give full credit to these guys because they completely outplayed the Eagles. You had to go and do it. And what a great feeling. Cry, Eagles, cry. Go cry some more. How about this fan base that wants Nick Sirianni fired, that's got fans sitting at Raymond James Stadium with bags on their heads after they were in the Super Bowl a year ago?
Yes.
Enjoy watching the rest of the postseason, you chuckleheads.
Yeah. I watched a lot of ESPN this morning. I get up and they're like, they won't say Howie Roseman's name, but they keep saying, well, why do these coaches keep leaving? Because they're not running the team. Why do you think Andy Reid left many years ago? Because he stopped. He didn't have any power. And the coaches, they need some level of control. And I think, that's why people leave.
Obviously, I don't mean to interrupt. Obviously, internally, they came unglued. And that is coaching, and that's lack of leadership from Hurts, from any of their other veterans, Fletcher Cox, any of their other veterans that they have that didn't step in and right the ship, and the Buccaneers take advantage of it. Again, winning important games down there. I mean, I love this notion. You guys didn't say this. Well, any of the teams in the playoffs would have beat the Eagles last night. Well, can't you make the same argument after watching what Green Bay did to Dallas, that the Buccaneers could have gone to Dallas and done the same thing? They beat Green Bay at Green Bay. Just get in the tournament. And you're in the tournament and you're alive. And dare we say we're going to be talking as this week goes on about a potential NFC championship game spot on the line in Detroit. This is what it's all about.
Well, any other insights you can give us from down on the field, stuff that happened last night, stuff that you saw? We saw the Nature Boy down there. A lot of celebs down there, TJ. A lot.
So I've been educated in the last hour. I did not know this. Have you heard the full story they were talking about on ESPN? I did not hear this. That they ran into Ric Flair in downtown Tampa, and Troy Aikman brokered getting Flair to the game and getting him on the ESPN pregame show. And apparently Troy Aikman was a big part of it. And then there was the Nature Boy on the ship, and they played the 2001 Space Odyssey music and had the fog going. And I'm like, if you don't win now with the Nature Boy Ric Flair in the house, as big a wrestling area this state and this area is, that was something added. I will tell you it was electric. I will tell you the Eagles did not look like they wanted to be there in the first quarter. To their credit, they hung in. They got the long pass to Devontae Smith and hung in, but they were waiting to get knocked out. It's like a fighter waiting to get knocked out in the 5th round, the 6th round, and the Bucs finally delivered a couple of knockout blows late in the game. Dangerous team. The look on that sideline, the look out there with the aggressiveness looked like a dangerous team headed to Detroit this weekend for sure.
And from field level, I said the physical team always wins, and Philly just beat us up in game 1. And you don't usually see a flip in terms of physicality, right? Physical teams are physical teams, but the Bucs were clearly the more physical team. They were they were the faster team. They were the quicker team. They just looked physically dominant. Did you get that feel?
Yes, and to your point, because Gene brought this up at the end of the radio broadcast, that the game in September ended with the Eagles killing the last 9 minutes of the game with a drive. Ultimate bully ball.
Handed it off. Yep.
We are better than you. We are more physical than you. We're going to end the game. And then how about last night? The Bucs took 6 minutes off the clock in the final 11 minutes and did the same bully ball type thing right back at the Eagles and got the clincher to Godwin on the touchdown and won the one that mattered. That's 3 straight postseason wins. We have the deed to Eagle fans' house, the deed to their car. I'm not sure if we're working on their firstborn next or what.
We don't want
with the
that.
Eagles and their fans, but it's sweet on the day
Philly's
after
our
that
bitch
game,
now. Philly's our Boston's our
Oh.
bitch. Philly's our bitch. Who else we own?
It was it was
Yankees
something
for the
else
most
to
part.
watch.
Yeah.
And again, we should not revise this that so many people believed with the dead cap money, new offensive coordinator, Baker Mayfield, new quarterback, that this was destined to be a bad season. You win the division, you win a playoff game. So enjoy this. Be thrilled about. And I actually like all the talk now heading into this game that, Detroit's at home. Detroit's got their swagger. It's
good.
Revenge again.
Yep.
Revenge again for the Buccaneers. Look out.
All right, TJ, thanks for dropping in, buddy. I know you got a very busy schedule. Have fun coaching up the Twins. I got basketball coaching duties later myself. So
I know we got basketball. We got JV basketball going on. We got the Nothing But Bucks podcast coming out in a little while.
Oh, that'll be.
We got other things happening. So again, you'll get all of the highlights, the interviews through the Buccaneers mobile app and the podcast outlets on Nothing But Bucks. It'll be out here coming up in a little while off the show. You have me back whenever you need me. It's a date next week. We are possibly, if not, let's just go ahead and say it. Let's talk NFC Championship game next week with the Buccaneers in it. Wouldn't that be something? They go get this win in Detroit. Hang in there, Buccaneer fans.
All right. Thanks, buddy. Great TJ Reeves at Bucs Sideline Guy. If you want to follow him on Twitter, great follow. And check out that podcast because they got all the Gene stuff and the interviews intermingled. He does a great job with that deal. All right, Nick, last word from you, my friend. Bucs fan wearing your Bucs jersey today. It's been a good little run here, huh?
Yeah, and certainly unexpected. I didn't say it today, but the last thing is I was so interested to see how the Bucs would respond because it felt like everybody was picking the Bucs to win this game. The entire ESPN panel was a clean sweep of the Bucs winning this game, and I was like, oh, God, they're going to screw it up. They're going to screw it up. They don't respond well to hype.
The kiss of death.
Right, exactly. But they did. And listen, just enjoy it. Just enjoy it. You know, we went through so much just awful football for years, and we're like still in that like era right now where we can enjoy it. So let's just hope and pray that the Bucs can get it done, the Packers could get it done, and you can get another home game at Ray J in the NFC Championship. I mean, we can talk about that now.
Playing a Packers team that you can beat too. I mean, that's just unbelievable. Yeah. All right, great job, Nick. Appreciate the great Scott Reynolds from Pewter Report for joining us. TJ Reeves, all the great comments. Thanks, guys, so much. Don't forget to please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're trying to get over 1,000 subscribers so we can start making a lot more money. So tell all your friends to subscribe. It's not that hard to do. The JP Peterson Show, go do it. Also on podcast and Spotify, anywhere you get your podcast. Don't forget, if you missed the show, you can always go back and listen to it there. I know it's 2 hours. People tell me it's too long, but come on. You got the time. What are you going to do? Listen to terrestrial radio? Oh, by the way, we're back on terrestrial radio, 102.5, The Strike, the HD channel, the Bones HD channel. So you can listen to us live on there from 10 to 12. So check that out. Have a great day, everybody. Go Bucs. We'll talk to you tomorrow.